Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Disgustingly Resilient podcast, and in today's episode we're going to start the first of the 7 detachment sample list videos where we're going to go through every single detachment, give you a sample list that you can look at, take away and play. But we're not just going to give you the list, we're going to teach some of the key combos, some of the key ways to play it and how the list kind of functions, what each unit's role is inside that list, and the overall game plan. This was originally going to be one video with all 7 detachments in it, just going through list. But I thought, that's not what we do on this channel. We want to basically try and help you guys learn how to play the list. So anyone can give you a list, but we want to try and help you teach you how to play the list. Now, that being said, these are not the top competitive lists for each detachment. However, what they are is they are lists that are strong, still admittedly strong, but they make the most out of the detachment. So you're going to get to use a bit of everything, a bit of all of the rules, and it's really going to help you get a feel for how the detachment plays, how the flavor of the detachment is, and get to use the sort of like the strongest bits of it in multiple different areas. So you will see some variants going into competitive play where changes have been made to these lists, but these are a good starting solid ground, especially for like a new player who doesn't know what they're getting into, to sort of build the list around, and then from there you can expand it and take it in your own ways. But anyway, before we carry on, just a quick reminder, if you do enjoy the content on this channel, please feel free to leave a like and a subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And if you really enjoy the channel, consider becoming a Plague Marine member. It costs as little as £3 a month. You get access to the awesome Disgustingly Resilient podcast Discord. So yeah, if you're interested, feel free to join on up. If not, just leave a like and a subscribe. Even a comment really helps. Let's get into it. So, first up, as of a quick reminder, what is Virulent Vectorium? At its heart, it is a toolbox attachment. So toolbox means that you have a little bit of tools for everything. So it's not just dedicated to one specific thing. It's not like a melee only thing or a shooting focus. It's got a bit of everything. It's got a tool for every job. It doesn't necessarily excel in any area particularly, but it doesn't really struggle in any area. What it does bring though is some fantastic shooting support stratagems in this detachment. So you got quite a good bit of shooting output. It also has some amazing durability with -1 damage stratagem, which is fantastic. And it also has a great bit of utility in here with auto-exploding vehicles, draining life from our opponents to heal ourselves, sticky objectives, and of course, the ever so important ability to extend our contagion range, which is massive for Death Guard. Also, it's quite unit inclusive. Literally almost anything works in this. You can take almost any unit in Virulent Vectorium and you will manage to make it work, which is really cool. Now, I'm not going to break down all the strats and stuff. We have got a detachment review for this detachment, so if you want to go check out what all the strats, enhancements, etc. do, go check out that video. I'll put a link in at the point of this video or in the description. For now, I'm going to assume you know what the detachment does. You've already watched that video. I'm going to get straight into the sample list. So, this is the sample list I put before you today. Now, as of the 5th of October, 2025, this is points accurate, okay? So, if you're watching this in a couple months' time, we've been nerfed again, not my bad. But we are rocking a Lord of Virulence. So this is the guy that has the reroll wounds in shooting for the Terminator squad he's attached to. He can also mark a target, gives your army reroll 1s to hit, and also gives any blast weapons 4 rerolls to hit against that target. Really nice support piece. Then we've got the Beat Lord Stick himself, the Lord of Contagion, rocking the Furnace of Plagues enhancement. This is the +1 strength, +1 attack, and devastating wounds. Absolutely brutal enhancement, makes this guy hit like an absolute freight train, even though he already hits like a freight train. So imagine like an 18-wheeler freight train, but on tank treads, traveling at slight speed. Real hits hard. So this can be swapped out for Demon Weapon of Nurgle if you want to for 5+ crits. That's also a good enhancement, but we just want to give him some form of damage enhancement to make him hit real hard. Then next up, we've got the Demon Prince of Nurgle, who I think is quite core to this detachment. He's really good in it because you can give him Revolting Regeneration. This is the 5-up Feel No Pain. So now we are looking at a Toughness 12, 2-up Save, 4-up Invulnerable, 5-up Feel No Pain, Lone Operative as long as he's near some infantry, that also has an Aura of Cover, and gives out 3 stratagems every single battle round. Demon Prince. And he's pretty good in melee. He's got damage 3 melee. This guy, for his points, is an absolute steal. He's an absolute little monster, nightmare to deal with, and he's going to be the core of how this list kind of plays and how this list sort of works around him to gain advantage over our opponent, as we'll see. Backing this up, we've also got a Tallyman. He's going to literally be sat on his own on the home objective. He's not going to join any squads. His entire point in this list is to sticky your home objective, walk slightly more into the corner to block out deep strikes, and then roll 7s and try and get your command points for the rest of the game. This is quite a command point hungry detachment. The more command points you have, the better. So having this guy and the Demon Prince in here, you could be looking at potentially 4 command points, because obviously the Demon Prince is 3. 4 free, not 3 as in 3. A battle round, which is incredible. I've legitimately had games where I'm going into a go turn on turn 3 with like 7 command points and a Demon Prince stocked up ready to go. It was quite funny, I won't lie. Then we've got a Biology Putrefier and a Malignant Plaguecaster. These guys are going to be joining a 10-man squad of Plague Marines, rocking triple Plasma Gun because you can have 2 in the squad. The Sergeant can take 1, 2 Blight Launchers, 2 Plague Spewers, 3 Heavy Plague Weapons, and a Power Fist on the Sergeant. These guys together are going to allow the Plague Marines to have lethal hits, sustained hits on all their attacks, melee and shooting, and they will critically hit, so you'll get lethal hits and sustained hits on 5+ on both melee and shooting against afflicted targets, which is incredibly powerful. So that's going to turn the dial up on that unit's damage through the roof. So it's really powerful combination to have on that squad. Those guys are obviously going to be traveling around in a Chaos Rhino because, as we say, a walking Plague Marine is a dead Plague Marine. Then we're going to bring along a unit of 2 Chaos Spawn. These guys are a great little bit of utility. Certain maps you can scout and sticky an objective. If you go first, you can also scout into a good staging position to launch out to spread contagion turn 2. They're just a good, annoying, tradey, skirmishy, contagion spreading unit. That's really annoying to deal with for its points because they're toughness 7, 5 up feel no pain, 4 up save. They also bounce back mortal wounds, which is really funny. But these guys can be silly good, especially like just when you spike some feel no pains, really annoys people. Then we've got 2 squads of Death Shroud Terminators. These are our delivery mechanisms for our lords. They also hit really hard themselves. 6-inch deep strike and still being able to charge anything in contagion is incredibly powerful and plays massively to the strength of Death Guard's go turn. So having 2 squads of these guys being able to drop in, you've got -1 damage on demand as well to make them even more difficult to remove, especially at 4 wounds. It means 2 damage weapons now go down to damage 1. They'll need to get 4 wounds through you on a 4+ invulnerable or even a save better. Which means on average they will have to put you on 8 invulnerables with a damage 2 weapon to kill a single model, which is incredibly good. Then we've got 2 squads of Poxwalkers. Poxwalkers in Virulent Vectorium, there's an argument to even try and take a 3rd squad because you get the reroll, not reroll, you get the sticky objectives, so you can infiltrate onto an objective. If you get first turn, you can immediately sticky that objective, and then you can obviously walk forward, walk off it, whatever you want to do. They're just incredibly annoyingly durably for the points cost. Not incredibly, like, don't get me wrong, if someone wants to kill them, they can kill them, but sometimes you spike those feel no pains, and what should have been some dead Poxwalkers is no longer dead, and they're still spreading contagion, they can still do actions, so it's just a great little utility piece to have in this list. And then we've got our shooting Demon Engine package. We've got 3 heavy Blight Launcher bloat drones. They're crazy good with the Lord of Virulence for 4 rerolls to hit, and in this detachment they can also get the ability to reroll shot amounts, which makes them far more reliable than they normally are. So it's just a great long range shooting option. Strength 10, AP 2, flat damage 3. Brilliant little shooting unit. Super small, super easy to hide. Dot fly, small base, get wherever they need to be. Fantastic. And then also backing this up, we've got 2 Pathetic Blight Haulers. Good anti-tank, they're self-sufficient because they get +1 to hit and wound versus vehicles. So without any other buffs from anything else, they're going to hit vehicles and monsters on 2s and then get +1 to wound them with that lethal hit multi-melter and those rockets. These guys are just really annoying. Again, 100 points, super cheap. Doesn't really matter if they die, but if they go in and get some good shots off onto a vehicle that they want to get shots off onto, they can do a right good chunk of damage. So overall, this is the list, but how does the list, or what are the units in here? Oh, also a visual representation. I'm quite weird. I like to have a visual representation of what the army looks like. Sometimes I'll build a list, put it on the table and be like, I don't like that. I don't know why. It just looks wrong. So as you can see here, this is what the list will look like on the table. You got a fairly good amount of units here. The actual drop count in total is 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. About 13 units in total. I'm counting the Rhino separate. Obviously, deploying would be 12 plus minus deep strike, but it's a good amount of units here. Decent, quite. It's not super elite, but it's fairly elite. but the Demon Engines really help with that less elite feel, why them being so cheap. So it's a very fun list. I've played this plenty of times. It's my bread and butter if I can't be bothered thinking about what I want to play, and I just want to have a game of Death Guard. This one's always super solid to go to. So that's what it looks like on the table. So what unit roles have we got on this list? So let's look at our scoring and utility units. We've got Poxwalkers. As we said before, Infiltrate's fantastic. That's a good already bit of utility. If your opponent's really aggressive army like World Eaters and wants to run you down turn 1, or Emperor's Children for example, now you've got a unit that can make a nice big screen across the middle of the board and basically act as a disposable roadblock. So that's really good to have. They also again have that utility of being able to sticky midfield objectives early on. That's also great, and also being in those positions means that any early secondaries like engage in all fronts, area denial, they can start in positions that are going to make them much easier able to score those secondaries, whereas some of your slower units might struggle. So Poxwalkers are brilliant. Spawn, again, we talked about having a 6-inch scout followed by an 8-inch move. Again, think about early secondaries. You're going to be able to get into the positions you want to be. They're also just fantastic for contagion spreading in here. So again, they're happy to do actions. You're not really looking to go and kill things with them. They're annoying to deal with. They can happily sit on an objective for a turn, sticky it, and then walk off and do other things next turn. Again, great little unit. Tallyman, we've already talked about. Generate CP, sticky home objective, and then screen out the home field. You can't ask for much more for 50 points from that little guy. And then we've also got a Rhino. Once our Rhino has done its utility job of getting our Plague Marines out and where they need to be, it can still go and stand on objectives. It can go and tag units. Don't be afraid to charge a Rhino into a shooting unit and just tag it and keep it there. And don't forget, you can always tank shock, and then if they kill it, you can auto-explode it. So you on average do about 5 mortal wounds on the way out, which is really funny. But just having a Rhino in the list, even the utility of melee armies having to pop the Rhino and then get at the things inside it can be very annoying for them to deal with. Don't get me started on facing an elite army like Custodes and putting an empty Rhino on the middle objective and just being like, cool, do something about it. And then they just have to send out, like a 180 point unit to kill an empty Rhino, and then you kill that unit back for absolutely free. So funny. So yeah, great little package of scoring utility here. We've got a nice balance. And we've got our hammer units. These are our big damage dealers. Obviously, the Death Shroud, you're going to get them Contagion. You're going to allow them to get this 6-inch deep strike. They're going to charge in. They're going to shoot some guys first with those flamers. They're going to kill a bunch of stuff, especially the guy with a lot of Contagion with the enhancement Furnace of Plagues. He's going to wound a bunch of vehicles on 3s and 2s. If it's a toughness 10 vehicle, he's now strength 10. And he's going to have Lance, and he's going to make them -1 toughness. So he will wound main battle tanks for most factions in the game on 2s. Which is absurd with 6 attacks at flat damage 3 and AP 3 with -1 save contagion. Hits like an absolute freight train. These units pretty much delete most things they charge into, especially if it's infantry. These are some of your big damage dealers. The Plague Marines. You have 1 command point, reroll all hits and wounds in shooting for an infantry unit. Lethal, sustained, 5+ crits, full rerolls to hit and wound. You look at an infantry unit, you delete it. On average, 20 berserkers with a lord will die in a single volley, because the heavy blight launchers, the normal blight launchers are going to get 2d3 shots plus 8, because each one's getting blast for 4, and then you're going to have 6 plasma shots as well, which are then also going to be lethal crit sustained 5s. So you're crazy. Like your average 12 shots on blight launchers can easily spike up to like 18 hits, especially if you fish for it. Then you're wounded on 2s, rerolling everything, so you're pretty much guaranteeing all of them are going to wound, and then you're going to put them on like 5-up saves, and then the plasmas are AP4, and it just gets absolutely ridiculous and gross. So this unit is fantastic to drop out of the Rhino, point the guns at something and go, hey, I'm going to pay 1 CP and pick you up. And don't forget, Creeping Blight only doesn't ask you to target a specific enemy unit. It just says whenever you attack an afflicted unit, which means you can hop out of a Rhino, and as long as you split your shots and they're all afflicted, you'll get 4 rolls to hit and wound against all of them targets. You don't have to put it just at 1, which is really good. And obviously we've got the heavy blight launcher bloat drones. Again, fantastic long range shooting, flat damage 3, strength 10, good amount of shots, nice little profile there. These are your long range damage dealers in the list. Speaking about trading units, Poxwalkers can be used to trade. Again, you put them on an objective infiltrate, your opponent's got to send something to clear them. Often that's going to cost them more than 65 points to do. Then you pick up that unit for free and you've traded it up. Brilliant, nice and easy. Chaos Spawn again. Now in this list, we're not looking to trade our Chaos Spawn as much. We kind of want to keep our Chaos Spawn safer because they're here to enable our go turn drop because they're going to be our big contagion spreader. However, if you're against a melee army, for example, and they're already getting close to you and spreading contagion is not the biggest deal, then you can use this as a unit to put onto an objective and say, hey, I'm incredibly annoying to kill for 80 points, send something out. They send it out, they kill you, you kill them back. You might even take some mortal wounds on the way down and kill them back with that. All sorts of good stuff. Now, the Demon Prince is here. Now, it sounds weird. The Demon Prince in this list, because of the Lone Up, because of the Feel No Pain, because of the Toughness 12 and the silly stats, you can use the Demon Prince to force terrible trades from your opponent. You put this guy out there and you say, cool, come and kill me. Because it's very rarely you're going to find a unit for less points than the Demon Prince that is going to kill him at that profile, especially if he pops -1 damage, especially if he saves a CP to reroll one of his invulnerables. Is incredibly annoying. So this guy can actually be used, especially in elite matchups. I've put this guy out in the open, knowing he's going to get charged by something like Canis Rex. Canis Rex charges him. You might even spike the 4+ invulnerables. I've done it to someone. I felt bad about it, but it was funny. But even if he kills your Demon Prince, if you then kill Canis Rex back, and you make up like the 200 points bonus difference, like you're pretty happy with that. So don't be afraid to trade him. Don't give him for free. Just make sure it's super awkward and your opponent has to commit absolutely tons to kill him. And the Pathetic Haulers. Again, the Haulers here are a great little self-sufficient unit, but don't ever be afraid of sending out a single Hauler. Maybe, oh, I've accidentally exposed it a little bit from this angle, and your opponent then comes out with one of the few anti-tank units, shoots it, maybe they kill it, but if you can swing back on it with triple heavy blight launch drone and pick up that tank backwards, half the time, because of how cheap our demon engines are, that's an uptrade. So don't look actively to trade the Pathetic Blight Hauler, but it's there if you need it to. And then obviously we've got our contagion spreading units. The Chaos Spawn, we've talked about how important they are on this list to spread the contagion. That is mainly what they're here for. So try not to trade them, try and keep them safe, use them to get contagion out there. Poxwalkers, they start in the middle of the board. If your opponent doesn't deal with them quick enough, that contagion range grows, and soon even a slow-moving 5-inch Poxwalker can walk an opponent into contagion range, and then you can drop units in like Death Shroud, etc. The Haulers are great for it. The Haulers naturally want to start getting closer anyway to make the most of the Melter weapons that they have. So these guys being able to move up, get into Melter range on things, and also be spreading contagion at the same time, it pulls double duty. And the Demon Prince. Now, the Demon Prince himself isn't particularly looking to do the spreading of contagion. He obviously can. Anything can, technically. But he has the ability to make the stratagem to increase the contagion range for your entire army cost 1 CP, because he'll be the Warlord, which means he's always in range of himself for his ability, which means when the Warlord is alive to use the Plague Surge, he's going to be able to make it 1 command point. So in a sense, he's a component of the contagion spreading, because he's the one that enables you to on demand have 1 command point plus 3-inch contagion range for your entire army. So here's a few simple combos. If you're just starting to play this army, you've seen this list, you say, hey, this sounds really cool, Aiden, but I need to know how some little simple combos work. I got you, fam, don't worry. So first one is our priority long-range threat elimination. We've got Lord of Virulence and Heavy Blight Launcher Bloat Drones. So if you manage to land these up on the same target, you can have the Lord of Virulence mark the target. So now all those blast weapons from those bloat drones are going to get full rerolls to hit. You can also spend a command point to allow you to reroll the shot amounts on any of those bloat drones. So all 3 of them can reroll the shot amounts. So now you're going to have full rerolls to hit and reroll the shot amounts. This is a fantastic combo for eliminating a priority threat at range. Think about big knights. If you see a big knight, this is a no-brainer to drop it on the big knight. You go, cool, reroll all of our hit rolls against that knight there, reroll all of our shot amounts, 3 heavy blight launch drones, go! And you fire away and basically just do an absolute metric ton of damage, potentially even kill the thing. So if you need to kill something at long range, this is the combo to use. Now, in more close range, but potentially even more hard hitting, the Plague Marines and Creeping Blight. We already covered this, don't need to cover it too much. 4 rolls to hit and wound, sustained lethal crit 5s, in close range, extremely great for punishing people who dare push your Demon Prince. You know, you put your Demon Prince out there, your opponent charges him with a bunch of melee units. You make him -1 damage. You manage to survive on a few wounds. The Demon Prince steps backwards. The Plague Marines hop out their Rhino, pay the command point, and absolutely just nuke that unit that dared touch your Demon Prince off the board. And your Demon Prince then can step back up and go, cool, who's next? Rinse and repeat, baby. Rinse and repeat. So yeah, really good damaging. It is short range, so it's more of a counter punch unit. So your opponent comes in to try and kill you, fails you, you go bam, knock them out backwards. But it can also be used aggressively. Don't forget you can move your Rhino and disembark 3. So technically it can give them a 15-inch reach because they move 12, disembark 3 out the front. So don't be afraid to use this aggressively where you drive up to them, hop out and shoot away. That's also perfectly fine there. So yeah, it's just a very powerful short range damage dealer for 1 command point. It's kind of insane. And then, as we said, we've got our Chaos Spawn and our Plague Surge. So this is our explosive go-turn enabler. You can go from your opponent thinking they're nice and safe and out of contagion range to suddenly going, bam, welcome to contagion range, here's the Death Shroud. They are movement 8 with a d6 advance. This means on turn 2, if you pay the Plague Surge, so if you give them plus 3-inch contagion range, they have a potential to project the threat of contagion up to 23 inches away based on advance roll. That's kind of insane for Death Guard. And obviously if you wait another turn, that then goes up to 26-inch projection, which means you're pretty much going to get them where you need them to be, especially if you've managed to stage them somewhere on the mid board where they can reach out, spread that contagion, and enable you to do a Death Shroud drop. So these are just 3 simple combos that when you're playing this list, obviously -1 damage plus Demon Prince, it's not really a combo, it's just kind of common sense. He's hard to kill, making him harder to kill is better. So yeah, but these are 3 simple combos you pretty much will end up using pretty much every game. You don't always need to use the Plague Surge, but it's an option if you do need it. But the first 2, you're probably going to use pretty much every single game. So just understand if you're brand new to it, you're trying to learn this list, these are the main combos to get down in your head. So, what is the list game plan? Well, the main thing is I want you to force interaction from your opponent. The main goal is to sit on 3 objectives. Your home objective, your natural objective, which is the objective that's normally safer for you to hold, and then put something like the Demon Prince on the middle objective, because he's got lone op. And what this means is that your opponent is in this position where they go, oh no, I can't shoot that guy from more than 12 inches away. So if I want to shoot him, I'm going to have to expose my units, which then obviously means we can shoot them back and kill them. Or they have to send in a melee threat to go and charge him. But again, most melee damage is kind of around damage 2, and you have -1 damage, and you could potentially swap the list around, bring a Foul Blight Spawn, threaten a Heroic Intervention, all these things. And again, they're still having to come out, and if you live, and that Demon Prince then walks away, and you shoot whatever they sent out to try and kill him to death, they haven't fixed the problem. They've just threw away a unit for free, basically. So the other alternate idea is, well, the Demon Prince, he's only 3 OC. I'll just throw one of my units onto the point. Okay, that's still fine, because I'm holding 2, you're holding 2, and I'm bleeding you of resources. I can do this for 2 turns, and while I'm doing that for 2 turns, I'm going to sit here, let my command points go up, let my Chaos Spawn get in position, and I'm going to get ready for the go turn, okay? So we're going to set up the go turn. Stage that Rhino, get that Rhino in that middle ruin, somewhere near the Demon Prince, nice and comfortably, and that Rhino's entire purpose is either to, on the go turn, drive out and threaten the opponent, or if the opponent tries to come and kill the Prince, they're there to counter that trade. They're then going to hop out, pay the CP, blow away whatever unit tried to kill that Prince, and you're more than likely going to uptrade it if he does die. You might not even die, in which case, brilliant, 3 kills, happy days. So this means we want to have, if our opponent's playing more passive and they don't go for that trade, we're just going to prepare the setup. We're going to put our spawn in launch points for the contagion, so spaces that they can exist in safely and get ready next turn to do the plus 3-inch contagion range, move, advance, get stuff in range. Now the Death Shroud appear, push into our opponent, because the next step is after we've played it passive, they've sent out some expendable units, we've killed them for free, happy days, loving that. We've built up our command points while we were waiting, so now we've got plenty to go on our go turn, and now we're going to send it into our opponent. The turn, the spawn are going to fly out, they're going to put things in contagion range, the Death Shroud are going to appear and do those 6-inch deep strikes, the Rhino's pushing up, the Demon Prince is pushing up, all the Demon Engines have exposed and started shooting things, and what we're going to do is we're going to make sure all the fighting starts to happen in our opponent's quarter, because if we can put the pressure on our opponent, keep them fighting in their own deployment zone / half of the board, late game when we're both on scraps, we're still going to have our sticky objectives scoring as primary, but they're not, because we're going to keep killing them off their primary. We're going to try and keep them on their home objective. So it's almost like a false sense of security when I lull them into. You're going to just play the slow game first, let the resources build up, wait, get in position for that go turn, but once we go for that go turn, it's full on pressure, baby. It's don't let off the gas, keep going, keep pushing, and rely on the sticky objectives to carry us through on our primary through the late game, and we focus all our attention on keeping their primary down. So basically by the end of the game, they should be on the home objective, if that, and you should be maybe not much left, but the sticky objectives are carrying the day for you. So that's the rough game plan of how I want this list to function. Now, I have got a few advanced tips here, and after this advanced tip section, I'm going to do a quick TTS section where I'm going to show you like a rough deployment and explain why I've done what I've done. So advanced tips. Lord of Virulence, don't be afraid to put him solo. Sometimes you're against lists that have a lot of early aggression or stat checks, like 5 big knights, for example. If you're worried about your damage potential without having the Lord of Virulence on the board, feel free to bring him solo and have him just stick his head out and mark targets. That's all he's got to do. Him and the Death Shroud is nice to have the reroll wounds on the Flamers and the nice Power Fist in combat, but they don't really rely on him too much. So if you're worried about getting stat checked early or early aggression, or someone just, sending loads of guys at you at once, and you feel like you need the damage early, don't be afraid to start Lord of Virulence solo and on the board and not in reserves. Lord of Contagiolence. Again, we have one command point, reroll all hits and wounds in shooting. You can use this on a Lord of Contagion squad to give the Death Shroud Flamers 4 rerolls to wound. So now he has the Lord of Virulence rule for return for one command point. Do not forget this, because sometimes you'll need to spray away a screen, and the reroll wounds, it's so helpful to just get those last couple wounds off that squad. So do not forget, you can always have a Lord of Contagiolence. First turn sticky play, I'll show you more in TTS, but you can do what's called a dog bone maneuver and start a unit of Poxwalkers strung out between 2 objectives. If you get first turn, it will then sticky both of those objectives, not just one, and that's incredibly annoying for your opponent, because now your opponent has to potentially think about trying to unstick 2 objectives turn 1, potentially causing them to give up 3 units, because you can just walk backwards with those Poxwalkers, run behind a wall and hide. Now you've got all the no man's land objectives stickied, especially if you're on hidden supplies. They have to stop that. They have to stop those stickies. So if they run the units out to stop them, you can then pick them up for free your next turn. So again, it's just a great way to make your opponent be forced to give up 3 units. And it's also great in matchups where your opponent has a load of indirect. So against you guys Tau, they got a bunch of SMS. Your Poxwalker is probably just going to die anyway first turn. So you might as well take the risk. You either put them in reserves, or you take the risk of just getting first turn, sticky in 2 and saying, haha, do something about it. And again, if they're going to die at that point, rather than running behind a wall, move in front of your opponent, move block them, say, haha, I've sticky 2 objectives, and now I'm move blocking you so you can't get to the objective to unsticky them. Haha, I get 15 primary turn 1. Turn 2, sorry, battle round 2. Again, annoying little trick they can do with the sticky objective so overpowered. Leech Spore Eruption. So this is the where you roll dice for your missing wounds, every 5 up you heal. If you are just below Battle Shock, so if you have a Demon Prince on 4 wounds, and you're looking like you're going to Battle Shock, and you're like, oh no, don't want to spend the 1 command point auto pass, don't do that. Instead, use Leech Spore Eruption, because it is it's a 1 command point. It's not once per game, like the auto pass morale. And if you roll a single 5 up, you will go to half health. Now you no longer have to Battle Shock, because this stratagem is used before the Battle Shock step. And then you've also healed. So it is a better Insane Bravery in certain scenarios. So just remember that. And obviously, the last dirty thing you can probably do, which is really gross, and I've done it to so many people before, is you can expose the Demon Prince near a wall, and you go, oh no, I've not got any infantry nearby. Well, I guess he's not lone up this turn. Oh no. And your opponent goes, ooh, and exposes tanks, scourges, fire and fade units, all these nasty things to come and shoot your Demon Prince from over 12 inches away. And you're like, oh no. And they expose them all and they go, cool, I'm going to start shooting. You're going to go, hold on 1 second, good sir. I'm going to rapid ingress this single Lord of Virulence behind the wall within 3 inches of my Demon Prince, and now he's within 3 inches of an infantry, so his lone up is restored, and all those things you exposed to shoot my Demon Prince now can't shoot shit, and you've exposed them all. And if you have a unit that can move after shooting, if it can't declare a shot, it can't move. I caught 3 units of Scourges in 1 turn with this because the Demon Prince out. 3 units of Scourges hopped out with Dark Lances to shoot him, and they were going to shoot him and then hop behind a wall. And then Typhus rapid ingress next to him behind a wall, so nothing could shoot him. And because they couldn't shoot anything, they couldn't move after shooting. So then 15 Scourges were sat in the open, and I had the time of my life killing them all. So yeah, brutal little trick there. Right, anyway, pass you over to TTS Aiden. He's going to take you through a deployment for this list and a rough sort of like game plan first turn kind of play. And then we'll be back to wrap up in the recap. Speak to you soon. Hey guys, welcome to Tabletop Aiden, as we like to say here, or TTS Aiden. So what I've got on the screen for you right now is sort of like an example deployment of how I would play this list. So we're on Search and Destroy, we're on a GW layout here, but the core fundamental principles are the same. So I'm going to take you through it. So, step 1, always pretty much the same every game. Tallyman is going to stay on home. Now, there's other units near home this time, just because it's Search and Destroy, it's quite dense, quite tight. But normally the Tallyman will always start on home. The idea being that he's going to stick here, and then if there was a large gap, see there's a bit of a gap here. If my opponent's got any sort of small singular base models with deep strike, as soon as I've stickied it after turn 1, he's literally just going to move to there, and that's just going to block off the back of the board. If not, if you only got large units, you can stay there happily and freely. So yeah, he's just there to stick his home objective and basically generate a CP for the rest of the game. Now, for infiltrators, we've obviously used one squad of our infiltrators to hold our natural objective up here. This is because I want to try and just get, again, this is assuming that it's a sort of balanced game where our opponent is also playing a sort of toolboxy, bit of shooting, bit of melee list. These poxwalkers will change what you do depending on your opponent, but in this instance, I don't got to worry about stopping scouts, for example. I don't got to worry about super early aggression, so I can just use my poxwalkers to hold my natural objective. As you can see, I've got a couple of guys on it just to stick here in case I get first turn, but I'm also trailing them backwards just to make sure that because if I'm against the wall, technically there's a very thin line, as you can see, 9 inches, where someone could deep strike. So I'm just making the most of their profile to screen out all of this here. And again, once this is sticky, you can even move a squad down here to then screen out all back here. Always make sure to use your screens nice and big. Anything that's behind the wall is still hidden from being shot, so you can use that nicely. Now our second unit has actually deployed near the middle. Now, normally I would try and get these guys further in the ruins if possible near the middle, but because we're on Search and Destroy, I've got to be 9 inches away from his deployment zones, which we are. So these guys are here for a very specific reason, and that's because they're giving our Demon Prince here lone operative. This Demon Prince can deploy basically up in the front like an absolute moron. Now, the only time you won't do this is if your opponent has something like Fire Dragons, which can obviously just hop out and one-tap him and then run away back into a transport. But again, we're assuming there is a normal game where, they don't have anything kind of silly like 10 Fire Dragons and Fugan. And this entire reason for this is this Demon Prince can deploy nice and up front here, so that he on his first turn can go and stand this objective and start that awkward situation for our opponent of the damned if they do, the damned if they don't. So these poxwalkers are nice and hidden, not touching the terrain, we don't want to get shot here, but they are providing lone up to this Demon Prince here. That's very good. Now this hauler is deployed a little aggressively, but he's still in a fairly safe spot. As you can see, the angles to shoot are very hard. Some would have to get all the way down here or all the way up here, which is not realistically going to happen. Again, obviously if they have advance and shoot and things like that, just do be aware of that. But he's just here tucked in nicely so that he can on the first turn sort of come into these ruins and start pressuring potentially out this way. So if anything tries to come out and shoot down this angle, he can move through the terrain and answer that nicely. And it also just helps reinforce this top objective a little bit. Now, Chaos Spawn. You always want, when you Chaos Spawn, to look for an opportunity to be able to scout forward aggressively if you get first turn, but also scout safely and defensively if you get second turn. So in this scenario here, because we're on Search Destroy, actually, with a 6-inch scout, can scout onto the middle objective pre-game, and if I'm going first turn, then it will go into my command phase, and I will then sticky this in my first turn. So even though I've not started the game on it, because I'm back here in deployment, my scout takes me forward, touches the objective, my command phase, end of the command phase, stickies, and these guys can run off anywhere they want to. Now, if we don't get first turn, we have a few options here. We can obviously hop nice and safely back behind this wall. So we just come 6 inches back here, and now we're hidden and can't get shot. That's really nice. But if we also potentially could risk it a little bit, if they don't have the most shooting in the world, we could come 6 inches down this way like this. Because that's quite an awkward position to get to. Sorry, for some reason there's a hitbox on the deployment zone there. Because again, our opponent deploys here like this. Unless they can move all the way past this point here, so they need like a 12-inch move, and that's with them deployed in the line as well, to get shots into these spawn, or they have to come through the building to shoot them. It's quite awkward, and it means that in our first turn, if we wanted to, these guys could, you know, stage up here, like this, and again, it's just a really awkward, annoying spot, especially if our opponent doesn't have great melee to deal with these guys, because to shoot them, especially if you go more against the wall here, to shoot them, your opponent has to either come out this way, right into the middle, down here, and then get this angle to shoot them, or they have to come all the way out here, and again, if we look where our drones are deployed, which we'll get to in a second, we're in positions to be able to retaliate at anything that goes for those spawn, and then obviously in our opponent's first turn, if they don't deal with these spawn, we can obviously like step up with the Demon Prince, all this other stuff moves up, and then we're in a great position from here to launch up that way, to launch down that way, launch that way. Many different angles of attack from this position here, which is really nice. So we're always looking to get our spawn into a nice position, but if you wanted to play it safe, a bit more of a normal, natural staging position, you can obviously scout backwards here, or if you get first turn, you can scout forward, sticky that middle objective, and then run into this building here, staged up, ready to go for the next turn. So that's why those guys are deployed there. Now, our Rhino is always deployed in a position where it can start moving towards the center of the board, because this Rhino wants to be able to deploy the Plague Marines in the area that can have the most effect. So right now, the Rhino on this terrain, its best position it can possibly be is somewhere like that. Because from there, if we stage up, we're free to jump out 8 inches into our opponent's deployment zone up here. We can jump out 8 inches to get to shoot anything that's behind this wall down here. Again, we can come out and charge anything that's behind this wall here. We can potentially come out 8 inches and charge onto our opponent's home objective. It's a really good natural position, but we don't want to risk it getting shot turn 1. So that's why we've deployed behind these walls. So currently it's obscured, but in our first turn, this Blight Hall is obviously going to move out the way up here somewhere. The Poxwalker is going to move up, and this Rhino is looking to, you're probably going to advance it, because you can move forward 12 to here, and then you can only use a little bit of an advance 2 inches to the side, and you can get here hidden nicely behind the wall, ready to get staged up. And obviously if you get a nice big 6, you can go straight 18, zoom all the way straight up into that corner like that. Happy days. So just like that. So remember, these little terrain pieces here, these little bits, you can move over them freely with vehicles, you just can't end and move on top of them. So just bear that in mind. But it's a nice position for this Rhino. And again, it just reacts. If someone gets really early aggressive and they just shove a lot of things in the middle, you're also in a position to be able to, you know, drive up the Rhino, get you guys out, and shoot anything off the middle that exposed itself. So it's just a good place for this Rhino to be able to get to that mid-board position. Now, bloat drones are deployed in a way where they have options to react to our opponent. If our opponent gets aggressive at the top here, this bloat drone can move to here, touch the terrain, and then he has shots all the way up here. Obviously, this Blight Hauler here also can help out on that as well. So you got, and again, the Rhino potentially could come up here, drop out Plague Marines on this side, and they can shoot up as well. So you got different options to be able to react to the top there. If your opponent pushes the middle, so get back to where we were with this guy. If their opponent pushes the middle bit, we can have this bloat drone stand on this side of the terrain, this bloat drone stand on this side of the terrain, and now we've got 2 bloat drones that can potentially fire into the middle, down the middle lane here. Obviously, you can even like land here if you want to. So they can react to that quite nicely. And then, if our opponent comes down the right side here, we have the ability, again, if someone gets really aggressive and manages to come out here to get some shots, whatever, this bloat drone here can obviously come out to shoot backwards. But if our opponent also tries to take this firing angle here, we can have this bloat drone hop out to here, and this one with its 10-inch move can also reach here, so we can fire back with 2 bloat drones down this long angle here. So the idea being that we have 1 bloat drone committed to the left and right flank, so this one's committed to the right, this one's committed to the left, but the central bloat drone can reinforce wherever it needs to go. So both of these can push the middle, this one can go to the left, these 2 can push the right here, And the left one doesn't need reinforcing by this bloater on this angle here, because the Rhino and this Hauler is already in position to assist if needed. So a standard first turn for this list might look a little something like this. So it's, let's say maybe we get first turn, we're going to move up these guys, they're going to scout there, and probably then going to put them behind this wall like this and be really awkward. The Demon Prince is going to move up onto that middle terrain piece and just say to my opponent, hey, do something about it. These Poxwalkers are going to move and advance against this wall pretty much. All these guys care about is just making sure that we have some form of line up within range of that Demon Prince. So we just want to make sure we've got a guy within 3 inches of him. So like that to there. So he's going to come to here. Like that. Within 3 inches. There you go. He's line ups. Again, these guys can also potentially just stay behind this wall here. And just, again, just make sure you have a guy within 3 inches. So you can come out to here, for example. Pull the Demon Prince back a smidgy bit. The Demon Prince can straddle the terrain as well. You can easily just do that. And that'll do it. And then from there, within 3 inches, that's fine. This Hauler is going to just poke up this way. So let's look, there we go. So let's have a play around with this here. Like this. Blight Hauler is going to come up to here, just kind of chill again. We're not trying to expose too much on turn 1. It's all about trying to set up our sort of next turn. And then the Rhino, so this is what you should then obviously advance your Rhino. I get a 3, so it can move 15 total. So I'm probably going to go something like 11 here. And then, so I went from 11 there, like 3 to the side. Obviously, just make sure your Poxwalkers are not all messy like I've done there. Obviously, make sure you've left positions for things to be able to fit nicely. And let me turn off these deployment zones because they are blocking everything. Really annoying. Deployment zones off. Off, please. There we go. So this guy can then come in to fit into here. So he's happy. The Poxwalkers are in here, providing line up to the Demon Prince. These guys have moved up. I'm just, again, this if I'm not going to shoot turn 1, I could advance this bloat drone here. If something's not going to shoot and it's not going to action, always roll in advance because you might get a 6 and never see where you can go. This guy can go 14, so he's going to come flying up 10, like there, and I'm just going to go and hop behind here nice and safely. So he's nice and safe behind there. The second one could potentially go and take his position there, happily. And this one down here can also just hang fire and just be ready to react to anything that comes on this lane. Because now in this position here, I'm quite happily, we're in a good position to sort of swing out next turn. Obviously, just make sure this guy's not going to get pinged. So again, yeah, if someone wants to shoot him, they have to stand into here. And again, if someone wants to send some out to kill a Hauler, I'm okay with that because I can answer that with, bloat drone can come through to here and move up there. And he can shoot down whatever shot the Blight Hauler and the other one can. But from this position here, we're in a great position to do our next turn 2 push turn, because if our opponent, gets into their position here, doesn't deal with the spawn, doesn't deal with the Demon Prince, we take a 15, maybe they spend some stuff out and we kill it. From there, we're free to then have these spawn, run into our opponent's lines, get all that contagion off. This Rhino can potentially move up through here, 12 inches like this, drop some Plague Marines off, shoot things into their deployment zone. Then obviously you've got your Death Shroud that can come in. In this example, I've also put a Hauler in reserves just because space is quite limited on Search and Destroy. So again, these Haulers, these guys could come in. Maybe this guy's coming to charge whatever's behind this wall, while the LOV marks a target for destruction. These guys can come up and assist up here. And you can see how basically the aggression just already begins. Like, we can get on that go turn, we can just get so aggressive with our army. Like, all these units are coming out here. This guy can come to 7 to there, 3 up. So all these 3 can shoot down the middle as well. You can just see this, a massive amount of aggression coming straight at our opponents. And again, if we've been allowed to sticky this and this, and now we've got the fight all over here and down here, all we've got to do is just keep fighting. Just keep fighting, hanging in. The Hauler can come on down this end down here. So this is what happens if our opponent, plays too passive. You can see the moves sort of happening right before you. It's really nice and easy to stage up. Demon Prince asks them a question. If they refuse to answer it, you can then push pretty hard. But that's the rough idea of how the entire list should realistically try to function as best as possible. Now, there are scenarios where obviously when you're deploying, maybe you have to try and deny some scout moves and whatnot because it's going to be really important to the game. So they're a very aggressive army. They've got a lot of scout moves. You need to do that. Let me just move all these guys back. You guys off the table. You guys off the table. This Hauler was here somewhere, hiding around like that. There we go. So pretty much where we're at. So if our opponent was in a position where they basically need to be more aggressive, sometimes it is a case that maybe we need to use our spawn to go and basically secure our naturals. So because obviously they can turn 1, they can scout up 6 and then go and move 8 and get onto that objective quite nicely. You can obviously deploy them like back here scout the 6, fairly safely get up there. And instead, we're going to use this Poxwalker unit as like a scout screen. Now, if you are going to do some form of screening, always make sure that because you're going to throw away the unit anyway, it's going to be used as a screen for a scout block, then you might as well do the silly trick of trying to sticky some objectives. So, for example, you could potentially have this entire squad. Now, obviously, bear in mind, you've got to stay away from their deployment zone, which can be quite hard on search and destroy, just for the nature of what it is. So we can go like that. He goes to there, he goes to there. That's fine, you can move it forward. And then he comes to here, because again, this is the dog bone formation that we've talked about in other videos that we've done. All you got to make sure is everyone is within 2 inches of 2 models. So if you dog bone out like this, which we are doing, the most you can do, if you look at that, so right now, this is potentially blocking off any scout moves coming down this way from the deployment zone. And we're also managing, if we get first turn, to sticky these 2 objectives. So these 2 objectives will be stickied. If we get first turn, then this unit can move and advance, make a giant wall in front of the deployment zone. And again, the same thing can also be done, obviously, up this end. So you could be strung out like that. And if you lose them turn 1, like, again, that was going to happen anyway. Sometimes you have to sacrifice the unit to prevent those scouts. You know, if someone's going to get massive aggressive and scouts are going to let them get angles and like down here and shoot all your good stuff, or somehow down here and shoot all this stuff, it is important to stop those scouts. So sometimes that's what you will do with Poxwalkers. Some people like to do a variant list with 3 squads of Poxwalkers, because then obviously you can still have your infiltrators over here, your infiltrators in the middle, and then still have a scout in denial squad that can string and potentially get those sticky objectives. But again, that's all things you can figure out as you play the list more and more, get comfortable with it, and make the little changes that you want to. But yeah, this is just a quick example of a sort of deployment / turn 1 to hello Kirby. It's turn 1, turn 2 little play where you're looking to get aggressive. And again, don't feel like you have to go for that turn 2. The only reason it works so well in Search and Destroy is because you're already super close to your opponent. But if this was more like, you know, halves and quarters deployment like that, obviously spend your turn 1, just get nicely set up. Don't worry about things too much, and then you can turn 2. Again, if they're just drip feeding you some resources and refusing to deal with Demon Prince, kill them for 2 turns, build up some CP. But the go turn principles are the same. Like, for example, if we had to use our spawn this way, where they went up there, we had to sacrifice some Poxwalkers, God knows why. But these Poxwalkers are dead. This Blight Hauler from reserves could be your enabler, because, for example, your opponent, you know, they're not coming to shoot the Demon Prince, they're still hiding. Suddenly you rapid ingress this little guy here, 9 inches, so away from your opponent, and then in your turn you move 10 with Plague Surge up. So now you're here, potentially, 9-inch contagion range on turn 2. So you're contagion all this here. Also, and again, if potentially if you're on turn 3, 12-inch contagion range, now you're almost getting behind this building here. So if you wanted to, if he's not going to shoot much, give him an advancement. You get a 3 on average. Then you're like over here, 3 on average, about here. 3.5 technically is the average, so we'll just go a bit further. Now look, on a turn 3 with a 12-inch contagion range, look at all this you're tagging. Beautiful, and this Demon Prince can move up. He'll obviously have the 10-inch contagion range, so he's going to come up to here, so 12-inch, because it affects every unit in your army. He's tagging now all this stuff back here and up here, and then you can have your turn 3 drop, because at this point, obviously, your Rhino's here. The Rhino can then drive out, move up. Everything's in contagion range. The Death Shroud and all that stuff can come in. So if you ever lose your Chaos Spawn as like your enabler, and you have to use them for something else, like holding this over here, don't forget you can always just use a Blight Hauler or the Rhino. Plague Surge is there for those instances where maybe the spawn have had to be used elsewise. But again, it's just little tricks. And the more you play it, and the more you learn it, the more you'll have better success. Because again, it's just a very good, solid, all-around list that can deal with a little bit of everything at all times. And it's also just incredibly fun to play. It's not overly complicated, but the rough game plan is stand on these 3 here, make your opponent make some decisions, and then when you're ready for it, push into them hard and keep the fight up behind this line. You do that, you're gonna, especially if you do that and you learn that well, I guarantee you will go like 3-2 at most events. Like outside of like horrific matchups, you will go 3-2 at most events with that. It's the most simple way to play Warhammer. I hold 3, you hold 2, or I hold 2, you hold 1. Like, just keep them lower than you, and you'll end up winning the game. So yeah, this is just a quick little thing I wanted to add into the video to show you how I would deploy this in a general game. Obviously, understand, different games, different opponents, different matchups. You'll have to adapt on the fly in different terrain. But the rough principle is the same here. Just remember that, and you will be a-okay. Now, I will quickly say, if they do have something like a Knight Lancer or something that can come and one-shot this guy potentially, feel free to play the Demon Prince of Nurgle more on the flanks here. And again, you're looking to set up that still big go turn, but the Demon Prince becomes a bit more of a defensive tool at that point. He's going to sit much further away, less risk of him being charged. And again, you can obviously you can use things like Poxwalker screens. So like if you're worried your opponent's going to go and charge him in a turn, you can obviously make a wall. Poxwalker's obviously much bigger than that, just to stop him getting charged, etc. But yeah, anyway, there's too many variables for me to ramble on for too long. But yeah, just a quick little example of the average game plan I would hope to achieve. Anyway, back to presentation, Aiden, to wrap this up. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Simulator Aiden. Doesn't really ring as well as Table Aiden, but still, thank you very much for that. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. So just to recap very quickly. In this list, try and abuse that Demon Prince as much as possible. Make your opponent make those terrible trades, those terrible decisions, while you sit there, smug as anything, laughing all the way to the bank, building up that CP and prepping for that go turn. Be confident in your ranged output. Melee output in this list is still real good, don't get me wrong, but the magic really comes in that plague marine shooting and that heavy light launcher drones combined with the Lord of Virulence. That shooting is really, really powerful, so be fairly confident in it and the fact that you can deal some really great damage at ranged. Command points in this one, completely crucial. Don't be afraid to wait that extra turn to try and get that CP build up. Try and control yourself from spending early. Try not to redraw secondaries. Some people even bring a second Tallyman in this list to guarantee they're getting that CP. But it is really important you learn how to manage your command points, because command point management is really important. But again, you'll learn over time. And remember, sticky objectives are kind of broken. Not so much at the start of the game, but late game, when no one's got any units left and everyone's playing with scraps, having sticky objective on the objectives in the middle of nowhere where no one's units are near are really going to help you win the game, while your opponent is basically stuck with their units unable to leave their objectives because otherwise they won't score primary. You are not hindered by any such thing. So yeah, make sure you make use of those sticky objectives late game. And remember everybody, a win for Death Guard is a win for Kirby, and that is the main thing here. We're going to get wins for that pooch right there. But that is the end of this one. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the look of this list. Go give it a whirl where you picked up some tips and tricks, maybe how to deploy it in the rough sort of game plan it has. Hopefully this gives you a great sense of the strengths and the playstyle that Virulent Vectorium can do. Of course, there's a million other builds for it, different ways to take it. So let me know what you enjoy. Mortarion can go in here. You can go heavier on the Plague Marines. Black Lord Terminators can even make work in here. There's so many good builds for it, but it really is up to you to find those out. For now, this is just a quick little sample video for you to, dig into. Thank you to our Desho members who are on the board right now, on the screen right now. These guys are the highest paid tier membership. You guys really, really help keep the lights on. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't, to hit that little like button on the subscribe. It really, really helps way more than you actually think. Or leave a comment. I'd always love to engage with people. And if you really want to support us, consider becoming a member. Thank you so much for you, though, for watching, for sticking it through to the end. And until the next one, take care, stay rotten, bye-bye.